Hey, so it's time to start. Are you ready, Brian?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Let's get started. Hi, everyone. With a few people have already said hello, but I'm curious. Use the chat, say hello, and tell us, where are you from? I know we have, I know we have Adelaide, Australia in here. I know we saw Georgia, New Hampshire, Nevada, Guatemala, Roanoke, Iowa, Georgia, Southern California, Kentucky, Washington, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Hemet, California, Guatemala, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, Alabama, Canada, Tennessee. Oh, this is awesome. Winnipeg, Lima, Peru came through. So, Anza, California, Dominican Republic. Oh, this is awesome. I'm happy to see you guys. And let me ask a different question. Please use the raise hand feature. How many of you have not been in a webinar with me? Where are my Symbaloo friends that got the invite over Symbaloo? And you're like, I have no idea who the heck you are. Hello, new friends. How are you? So let me start with an introduction. So hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Fisher. My company name is lesliefisher.com. I am based out of Southern California. And for the past 23 years, I have been keynoting and feature speaking at education technology conferences. I actually have never been a classroom teacher, but I am a struggling learner. I'm slightly dyslexic. I have a vision disorder. And so when I try to attack, which sounds like a poor word for it, but when I take a look at technology, I really just want to try to explain it to you in a way that you can then put your teacher awesomeness to. So for me, it's very much an overview, very much a how-to, sharing stories, sharing ideas, but I'm not going to tell you how to teach with this. I'm just simply going to tell you how it works, and hopefully you guys within chat or whatnot can spur some ideas. I usually present live. That obviously is not happening, and that's 100% my gig, is presenting live. So I'm in an interesting spot. I have been very fortunate to have partnerships and sponsorships with various companies during this time, and Symbaloo is sponsoring this webinar. So I'd like to give a big thank you to Symbaloo for sponsoring this. And if it feels like a bunch of us have a casual feel to us, that's because on Fridays, we tend to get together and have more of a light-hearted educational webinar to just chill and have fun. So that's why we're talking silly stuff and all that. It's, you guys are working your butts off right now. So I really, especially on a Friday, I try to make it a little bit more enjoying and relaxing for you guys. And if you guys enjoy this, I should try not to say guys, if you all, how'd I do, Heather? If you all enjoy this, feel free to head to my website, lesliefisher.com. I am offering a lot of webinars, all of them free. And you're looking in chat at what I think are a lot of happy webinar attendees that put a smile on my face every time that I get to see them. So Brian, would you like to introduce yourself, my dear?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Leslie. Yeah, so I'm Brian. I am here representing Symbaloo. I may have chatted with some of you in the past if you've had any trouble, but I'm here to answer any questions or concerns that you have, as well as, you know, help Leslie if she has any questions or anything that I need to share here on the webinar. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for the webinar, and it's going to be a fun one.
Awesome, thank you. And I like what Diana said, proof we made it another week like our club. Absolutely, this is a club. I'm here to support you, and we're just gonna hang in there and virtually hug each other. And Brian also is here in case I miss a step, to make sure that he fills in if I miss something, say something incorrectly. Has a wonderful, you know, story that goes along with something that I said or whatnot. So he's going to make sure that I am on track, on point, all that good stuff. So let's get going. And so I'm going to share my screen, and I have, if you have attended a webinar with me before, you know that I try to make slides, and Symbaloo is no different. So you, Brian, I'll get these slides to you. You will be getting slides. Now, we do have some people that registered with me. I need to figure all that out. We will, if you've ever reached out to me, you know that I try my best to get this content to you. So you will be getting these slides in one way, shape, or form. Let's dive in. And let's start with the question. Who has never dug into Symbaloo? Please raise your hands. Let's see how many we have that are brand new to Symbaloo. And this is where, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to salute educators right now, but this is a great another place to salute educators. I love the fact that you've probably had a crazy busy week of teaching, yet here you are in a webinar with the desire to learn, and you have no idea what you're about to learn. That to me just says educator, and it's another reason why I just adore, I adore you. For those of you that have not been in a webinar with me before, I tend not to read to the slides. Reading to the slides hurts my head, and it probably hurts your head and your heart as well. So I am going to very much try to not read to the slides, but what I want to give you an overview. We're going to talk about what is Symbaloo. We're going to talk about who uses Symbaloo. We're going to talk about discovering web mixes, discovering tiles. We're going to talk about learning paths, and then we're going to talk about web spaces, which, Brian, if I'm correct, web spaces, which used to be called workplaces, is one of the newer items that you have in Symbaloo. Am I correct with that one?
Yeah, so it's just basically it's a new extension within the workspaces that is new. The web spaces is fairly not old. I think we've had it for a couple of years now, but we've made tons of improvements. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. And also, if you have used Symbaloo, like for example, Vicky, I think that's Vicky, you know, yeah, she raised her hand and said, yes, feel free to type in some ideas. You know, if you want to share some ideas or whatnot as I yammer with other people, feel free to type that into the chat. So Symbaloo. I always love when you give it a verbose description, and Symbaloo is a visual bookmarking tool that makes it very easy to organize content. And as we are dealing with a lot of us being either in a full virtual or hybrid, I know very few teachers that are in full face-to-face. Something like a Symbaloo is just insanely helpful. It's a benefit for teachers because teachers can organize all of their favorite websites, provide them to their students in an easy to use way. Students can receive these web mixes, but also think about this from even a school-wide level or a district-wide level. It is just a really easy way to share online content. So what I want to do is I'm going to put the slides aside for a moment, and let's open up a web browser. And oh, by the way, I left this because I knew I'd have some new friends here. This is my website, lesliefisher.com. So please feel free to visit it. The reason it has this brown hair is I used to have brown hair, long brown hair. So let's get started. This is Symbaloo. Symbaloo allows you to create web mixes. And in those web mixes are tiles. There is a free level to Symbaloo, and a lot of the things that I'm going to start off showing you right now is completely free. And there is Symbaloo Pro, which we will also talk about in a little bit. But what I'm going to start off with showing you is completely free. So this is Symbaloo, symbaloo.com, and you'll get started. What you're going to notice at the top is you're going to notice these tabs. And these tabs are mixes. And the web mixes will contain tiles. And in those tiles, these are simply websites. And you can organize these web mixes however you want. So instead of giving a student or a fellow teacher, or heck, even a parent, a long list of just a bunch of URLs, you can have a way to easily organize them by using a web mix. So what I want to do is I want to show you how to create a web mix, and then we're going to add tiles to that web mix. And we can create web mixes a couple different ways. What we can do is I can come in here to where that little, let me click here again so you guys can see it. I like to do this a little slower. If you see here, do you see how it says my web mixes? And I can click here on my web mixes. And if you are brand new to Symbaloo, this is a fun way to get a feel for it. When I clicked on my web mixes, right down here, you'll notice there is an add a web mix, and there is an add a web mix with Quickstart. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you creating a web mix with a quick start. So we're going to say add a web mix with quick start, and then up pops here, and it's going to say, you know what? Here are some of the more popular websites that people will ask, why don't we select some? So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, let's go with Google Classroom, Edmodo, BrainPop, Facebook, Twitter. I know some of these you wouldn't probably have with your students, but you know, just stay with me. We'll come in here into Best Buy, Yelp, Google Drive, and you'll notice I'm clicking them and they're highlighting them. And I'm able to come in here and I'm able to click on them, and it lets me create these web mixes. So I'll come in here and we'll add CNN, we'll add NPR. And when I'm done with that, we're going to just say create web mix. And when I do that, it's going to come in here and it's going to say, would you like to add any other web mixes? It even gives you some examples. Here's a shopping web mix or whatnot. I'm going to hold off on doing that. And I'm just going to say, how about we start with the selected web mix? And just like that, boom, I now have a web mix, and it has shortcuts to all of those websites that I selected. So I could click here and it would take me straight to the CNN website. I can come back here, it would take me straight to BrainPop. And remember, I can have, unless Brian corrects me, as many web mixes as I want. As I look here at Brian on the video, am I safe with that one?
Oh yeah.
Awesome. So Vic, feature did you miss? I'm curious, did you miss the creating a web mix super quick? I'm curious. I always, if you know me, you know that I always try to dig in and find, I try to present on multiple levels. And one of the multiple levels I try to present on is even we have someone like Vicky who knows Symbaloo. I try to show it in a way that then, Vicky, you can go to a teacher and say, hey, you can get started with Symbaloo like that. And that's one of the reasons why I like to show that web mix option. And let me double check. I like to check in often with my webinar attendees. Did that make sense? How many of you are like, yep, that made sense. I get this idea that I can come in here. I can, beautiful. I just want to make sure that made sense. So
Leslie.
this may not, yes, what did I do
May
now?
I interject real quick? So I'm not sure if you have maybe another section, maybe I'm skipping ahead, but within this whole quick start feature, we also have the tile search feature. Is that in there with the browsing categories and all that?
I was going to do that. Can I do that here with the plus or no?
So the tile search is, yeah.
So let's come back. Can I edit this web mix, or do you want me to make a new one?
Yeah, no, you can edit that web mix. That's completely fine.
Oh, you mean just clicking on a tile and clicking it and searching from here?
Yeah, so because Vicky did say that she would always start from scratch. So
yeah.
you can start from scratch, but also the tile feature there, you can search, the tiles. So the database and all of that. That's also a quick way of doing it.
I have that in my future.
Awesome. Sorry.
But no. This is perfect. This is exactly what I want. So that way we have everything covered. And if I get through tiles and I miss it, then you can say, Leslie, you missed that. So feel free. Absolutely feel free to do that. Okay. Awesome. So now that I've done that, you'll notice that I have I think this is the one somewhere in here was the one that I created. So I have, here it is. So I have this web mix. So that is one way to create a web mix. Once again, I can click here and I can say add a web mix via Quick Start. You also have an option right here that says add a web mix. And here's something that I want to point out to you. In a lot of different areas within Symbaloo, there is something that says help me out. So if you click on help me out, it will take you to an area that gives you specific quick tip videos for the areas that you're looking at. And you can even click on show more and it will bring up a plethora. I think that was one of our words on one of our Friday night webinars, a plethora of videos for you to, accelerate your learning with Symbaloo. So keep a lookout for that. Keep a lookout for the help me out, because that's going to take you to different videos. Okay, so now that I've done that, let's show you another way to create a web mix. If I head all the way here to the right-hand side, you're going to see a web mix, new web mix. And I'm going to click on that. And when I do that, you're going to notice that the screen looks a little bit different. So it asks me to name my Webmix. So I'm going to say Webinar Webmix. And then take a look to the right-hand side. And I think Brian said to me, this is an area that he wished more people knew about, if I remember correctly. And that is the idea of there is an entire search gallery waiting for you based on whatever the heck you type. So I can come in here and I can say math. And if I type in here and say math and say I'm looking for tiles and based in the United States and click on search, it'll actually show me all of these existing web mixes that exist on that topic. And look, there are 15,884 that are based on.
Yeah, we have.
I caught Vicky again. I always love when I catch a Symbaloo. Let me ask, are there other Symbaloo users I just caught off guard with that? I'm curious. Look at the hands go up.
I'm glad we're talking about it now.
So I'm going to walk down this trail ever so slightly. I want to see this trail through. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and create a completely blank, empty web mix because I want to show you all the different possibilities. And I know what you're going to say the minute I add a web mix. You're going to go, well, 70% of that is the stuff I want. 30% isn't. Can I do something about that? And the answer is absolutely. But I'll come here with this one. Look, 1,158 people are using this web mix. Oh, look, let's go with math facts. I like that one. We'll click on math facts. And now up pops this Symbaloo, and I could take a look at it. Do I like how it looks? I could even click and check things out. And if I like it, you'll notice an option, upper right corner, add this web mix. And now this web mix will be added to my Symbaloo. So let me double check with you. Does that make sense? I clicked on the plus. I went to the right side, I clicked on gallery. I did a search and I found all of, I'm making Vicky happy, which makes me happy. When someone tells me to shut up, I know I've done a good job. So let's bark up the tree again. And now I've created a web mix via a quick start, which was just choosing some existing tiles. And I think Brian will tell you, they have over 55,000 pre-done tiles waiting, which we'll talk about when we get into tiles. So I added it with a quick start. I added it by looking at existing Symbaloos that educators have made available for you. And now we're going to add another one. And we're going to just create a blank web mix. So I'm going to go right back to that plus. And I'm going to say blank webinar web mix. You would probably not name it something like this. You would name it resources for second period or whatnot. And so we'll come in here and then I'll say add. And now that I've said add, I now have an empty web mix waiting for me to create. So 3 different ways to make a web mix. Brian, anything you want to add to making web mixes?
No, that's actually great. You covered the most important ones.
Yay, me! Okay, so just to go over the slides, I've added the slides of what is a web mix, how to create a web mix, Webmix Quickstart. You have these slides, Webmix via Quickstart, plus sign to create an empty web mix, plus sign to create a web mix from the Symbaloo gallery. Searching for Leslie Fisher, I don't know why, I just did a search on my name. Google one time when I was there, when they asked me to Google an address, I Googled my house. And they said, when you are learning things, you tend to go back to the things you know. So I think that's why I did Symbaloo searches on my name. And I actually found an educator. Where are my GAETC friends that are in this webinar right now? I actually found a Symbaloo that someone made of the GAETC conference from 2014. She was sitting in my presentation and she made Symbaloo links for everything that I went over. And then she shared that with other people. So when people asked, well, what did Leslie show in her session? She just gave them a Symbaloo link, which I just think was brilliant. So it made me smile. It really made me smile to see it listed. And I thought that's just there are so many ideas for uses with Symbaloo. And I'm going to say something corny. You're limited by your imagination. You really are. You're limited by your imagination on how to use this. I mentioned this earlier before we started the pregame show. I just got an Oculus Quest 2, and I've been having so much fun with that. And I've been using it a lot for fitness titles. I've been doing a lot of VR fitness. And I had so many people asking me, well, what titles do you recommend? And normally I'd be like, paste the link, paste the link, paste the link, make the blog page. And I was like, what a great use for Symbaloo. So you'll see that I've started, you'll see I'm going to show that my Oculus Quest one, where I've started with, the different items to order for your Oculus Quest, different support articles, and then apps, and it's all in one Symbaloo board. It's all in one Webmix, which I'm like, this is awesome. So it's a great example where instead I'll just share the Webmix. Okay, I'm rambling, but most of you know I do that. Okay, so we haven't talked about this, so let's head back to, just for fun, we'll go to the Oculus one. So this is what I was telling you about. I just started making an Oculus Quest Webmix to share with my friends about, which one should you order? What support articles do you recommend? What apps are you running? And this is a great way to just be able to do that. So let's say I wanted to get this Webmix to you. Let's say you as a teacher wanted to get this Webmix to a student. There's a lot of ways to do that, but in free Symbaloo, I'm going to come right up here to where it says shared. And when I click on shared, you'll notice that it says Webmix info and share options, and I can come in here and you'll notice that I can give it a description, I can give it tag words, I can say keep it private, just share it with friends, I can say make it public, and I also can come in here and share it over email. And you'll even notice I can embed this. Do we know what embedding is? I'm hoping most of you do. You can embed this into a web page. So you can place this into a web page for other people to see. You could share it on Facebook and Twitter and all sorts of things. So all you have to do to get this Webmix out there is to share it. And keep in mind, one of the options is sharing this publicly. And we'll talk about that in the gallery in a little bit. Okay, so now that we've done that, I just want to make sure, got a couple more, here we go. You can collaborate. Now, is this a free feature, Brian? I struggled with that one. Is collaboration part of free Symbaloo?
Yeah, so collaboration is, you can only collaborate on one Webmix though, on the free account, and then after that, you'll have to be on the paid version.
Thank you. I appreciate you telling me. So Brian and I were supposed to have like a meetup this morning, and I've been like fighting a nasty old headache, so I've been kind of underground. So you'll hear me ask questions I should have asked him yesterday or today.
No worries.
So back to this one. Let's say I wanted to share or collaborate with this. I click on the three dots. I can hit remove, I think is obvious. I can click here on collaborate. When I click here on collaborate, you'll notice right here it says sharing is turned off, only I can access it. I'll click here on change and I can say share this privately. And when I say share this privately, I can come in here and I can add collaborators. So it's very easy to have collaborators be added to this. And Linda just pointed out, the pro version is only $50 a year. And when you see some of the features when we dive into pro, I agree with what she said. It's very reasonably priced. All right, so the last thing I want to show you before we get to adding tiles is your Webmix settings. If I come right here and click on Webmix settings, I can rename the Webmix. I can change the wallpaper, which includes solid colors. It also includes uploading your own image. So if you wanted to upload your own image, and I've seen teachers do really fun things with that, like put the name of the class in the background or the period or the school logo or whatnot, you can do that. You can resize the Webmix. So if you, for example, wanted it to be a wee bit smaller, you could come in here and you can add or subtract from here. You can make the Webmix slightly transparent, and then there's an option that is, and this one's kind of fun, it's add a new marker. And I'm going to guess, well, at least can I try to guess, do I have any Symbaloo users that have no idea what the marker feature is? Raise your hand if you have no idea what the marker feature is. Look at those hands head up. And it's one of those that I was like, oh, this is so helpful. I mentioned already that I'm a struggling learner. And so when I saw the marker, it helped me. I also have a vision disorder, so I can't have a lot of clutter. I don't do well with cluttered environments. So when I saw add a marker, I was a super happy kid. When you see I have add a new marker on, and when I move my mouse, all of a sudden it looks completely different. It's a plus sign. And when I click and drag that plus sign, you're going to notice that I'm putting a highlight color behind the those tiles, and that sets up a marker, which I can then come in here and change the color of that marker. So I can come in here and I could actually color code different groupings. You are welcome, Jennifer. I can color code I can code different groupings. And Vicki, once again, this is where I love how happy you guys are with this. And this is where I always love being I'm just here to show you the nuts and bolts because I cover a lot of nuts and bolts. So I'm happy. I'm happy to help you with this. And you can have multiple markers within one Webmix. So you can totally have multiple 4 years of ignorance. No. You can have multiple marking colors if you wanted to. So you can completely do this. And yes, you can delete it. You can change its, change how many places. So you have all of this, and I'll say save marker. And now we're going to come in here and we're going to save marker. And those are, once again, the settings that I clicked in here, right here. So I'm going to check in with you again. Is it making sense, everyone? Are we liking this? Do we good?
They seem pretty excited.
That makes me a happy. I'm a happy kid. All right. So with that, what we're going to do, I'm not sure why it's not letting me close out of this. Whoops. I got a little glitch going on. That's okay. We'll just refresh. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's head to a different area, and I'm going to talk about, well, let's go to the blank one that I made. So that covers Webmixes. So I think we've covered Webmixes. So now let's talk tiles. So let's talk tiles. And Liz has an Oculus question. Put that in Q&A, kiddo, and I'll cover it during our Q&A time because I'm more than happy. Because I think, not to derail the Symbaloo webinar, but I think a lot of us are stuck at home and looking for ways to keep us entertained. And I would love off time after the webinar. I'm more than happy to talk about it because it's been very helpful to my brain to have something different. So just stick that in Q&A. Okay. Here is my blank Webmix. However, I can add tiles to existing Webmixes, the quick Webmix I made. The only place I can't add tiles as it stands is when I bring in a Webmix from someone else via the gallery. It has a lock on it, but I can change that. And we'll talk about that if we have time. But I can add tiles. It doesn't have to be an empty Webmix. It can be anywhere. I can head back here and it's going to say add a new tile here. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. So let's add tiles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move somewhere where I want to add a tile, and I'm going to click. And when I do that, it is going to come up and it is going to say, search for a query. What would you like to look for? So if I type in math, now, Brian, I think we're tapping into the 55,000 different tiles that you guys have available that are just a click away, waiting for them. So if I use Math Blaster, I can click here and add Math Blaster and it's added. If I want to come in here and type in math again, I can then add PBS math and it's added. So you can come in here and you can just start typing all sorts of things and it's going to show you some of, it's going to show you, and I believe, Brian, this was another one you had on your list of things that, because one of the things I said to Brian was, tell me what are the things you think people are missing. And this was one of the ones you said that you felt people were missing. And one of them was the gallery that we just showed. And the other one, if I remember, was this one.
Yeah, so the tile feature is, at least it's been there, but this is now what you just saw is actually very new. It is now, we just deployed it to all of our users. So this is new as of this week. So
and Karen,
that view is, yeah.
I think Karen caught on to that because Karen was like, this is so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one of the things, I know I've been trying to pay attention to both the chat and the webinar here. I know Jennifer was asking about the locked web mixes. So if we haven't touched on that, I'd like to clarify that a little bit as well.
Okay, and I do have a slide about that. So what
Great.
did you want to say?
No.
Because I said, but I might miss the slide. If it's one that you grab from the gallery, it's locked because if that person is updating it, you'll get those updates. So you're kind of in synergy with them. If they keep it live and breathing, you'll get those updates. But you can go in, there's an option, and I have this slide that says, make this webmix my own, but then you then break that synergy with that person. So
yeah, if you want to, when you get to that point, that's wonderful. I can just elaborate on that afterwards.
Okay, and I might not, it's near the end. So we can do that. Someone stick it in Q&A. So that way we
it's in Q&A. I'll bring up some, we can handle some of those after the website.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So I'm cool here, Brian. Did I cover this as you wanted? Beautiful. I just wanted
this is great.
Okay, yay me. Okay, so once I've done that, let me show you something else. There is, I think I need to go to my slides for this. Well, hold on, let's touch base on some of the questions you might have. Can you edit these? Can you move them? Yes, I think you've been noticing me moving this wherever I want. For those of you, I'm sure I have some OCD friends in here. Your OCD will just go on haywire. Trying to figure out, people are raising their hands. Yay, OCD friends, high five. Woo. When you right click on a tile, you'll notice that you have the option to edit it. So if I click here on edit, it will come up and I can change the URL for that tile. I can say if it's a website, a news source, a radio station, or an embedded page. I can change the actual text on the tile. Someone mentioned, I think it was Jennifer, who said that she was changing the color of each tile individually. You can do that. So I can give this a red background or a pink background if I wanted to. I also could leave this icon as is, which is usually what's known as a favicon, which is what the website will usually have, is that little icon. But I can also come up in here and I can say upload my own image. So I can go to any tile and upload my own image if I wanted to. And I'm going to click save. And we're going to see that change, pre-Jen, before she knew about markers. Yeah, I think markers are easier on the brain, is what I'd say. If I right click on it again, there's also a copy or move option. So if I wanted to, I could copy this, and this is nice. I could copy this to a different webmix. So if I have a tile that I really like and I want it to go somewhere else, I got Vicky again. I can copy it and I can send it to another webmix, which is great, or just simply make another tile of this, which is super nice. I can also delete it. And this is a nice feature. You could just share a tile. So if you wanted to just share a tile, click on share, and then it will go in and it will go in here, and I could easily just share that tile. So I have a lot of different things that I can do specifically just to that tile. You'll see this background changing. I want to point out that you can click on settings at any point and you can change that. So just so you know, that's something that you could easily change. So I'm going to scroll down here, and I've gone through this, I've gone through that, but I haven't talked about this. And this is something that when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Who does not know about Symbaloo Bookmarker? Please raise your hand. Brian, when you see that, do you just get all excited?
I do. Awesome. I mean, this is great.
So Symbaloo Bookmarker is a Chrome extension. So I've given you a link to the blog entry. If you're new to my slides, if there's additional content for learning, I add that link. So that will take you to Symbaloo's website or a YouTube video to learn more about it. But I also here have given you the Chrome extension. So I have preloaded the Chrome extension. And so I'm going to head here to my website, and I'm going to go to my calendar, and I'm going to go to my webinar calendar. And let's say you were like, oh, you know what? I'm making a Webmix for my teachers, and I want to tell them about Leslie Fisher's webinars. Almost sounds like a shameless plug, but they're all free. I want to tell people about Leslie's webinars. Well, I'm on this page. I want to add it to a Webmix. So I'm going to come here into my Chrome extensions. And there is one that is the Symbaloo Bookmarker. So I click, get ready. Click on the Symbaloo Bookmarker, and it's going to pop up, and it's going to go, well, where do you want to add this? Select the Webmix that you want to add this to. So I'm going to come in here to that blank webinar Webmix that I had earlier, and I'm going to say add this bookmark as a tile. It's going to add that bookmark as a tile. I'm going to head right back here, and I'm going to head to my blank webinar Webmix. I'm going to click the refresh, and there I am. And I am a tiled addition to that Webmix, and I could have chose any Webmix. And remember, I just showed you how you could copy across multiple Webmixes as well. By your reactions in chat, I think I caught a couple of you off guard in a good way as well. That makes me, once again, if I can streamline your use with Symbaloo and introduce you to new things at the same time, I'm a happy kid. We went over deleting tiles. We went over moving and copying. We talked about sharing a specific one. We didn't talk about this. Did you know that you could take multiple tiles and drag over them, and it turns it into a grouping? And it makes a little icon that shows that it's a group. Did I just catch anyone off guard with that? Please raise your hand. Do I have anyone that is now going into their copy of Symbaloo and trying to group their tiles? And so the question is why? You know, Sheila, it's a great question, but it would be, you know, it's organization, it's how you organize things. I like the idea that if I can create a logical item and they can open it and get more content from that item, great. So I come in here, I now have this, whoops, I now have me accidentally clicking on the wrong thing. I now have this, I click, and now I have all of those in. It kind of reminds me of almost like, you know, folders on a mobile device. And Heather, I know you've known more than that. So yes, you can create folder groups. You can do that. So let's continue on. Tile markers, we went over that already. We did that when I went into the Webmix settings. And just a heads up, you cannot have files be tiles. Say that 3 times fast. So if you said, I have this Microsoft Word document, can I make it a tile? The answer is no. If you said, I have this Microsoft Word document that I have stored in OneDrive, or I have this Google Doc that I have the ability to do web sharing on, and it generates a URL, can that be a tile? The answer is absolutely. I mean, one of the things I haven't shown yet is I can just click on a tile and paste the URL in, boom, like that, add tile. You know, so you could easily either use the bookmarker or paste in a URL. Yeah, Peggy, anything with a URL can become a tile. Now, we might run into certain situations like login information. So for example, if I only shared a Google Doc with you and someone else, and I add it to a Webmix and someone tries to click on it, they're not going to get to it because they're not you. So you have to keep in mind that those security items will come into play. But anything with the URL, and it goes deeper, we don't have enough time to go over everything. I still have 2 other main things I need to go over with you. But you can embed content in here. You can put RSS feeds in here. There are all sorts of things that you can have in Symbaloo, which is really nice. So I think that covers it for tiles. So now, and I think time-wise, I think we're right where I wanted us to be. Let's talk about learning paths. And let me ask you, who has not checked out Symbaloo learning paths yet? Please raise your hands. Beautiful. So this actually, Brian, how long has learning paths been out? A few years, yes?
So yeah, Learning Paths has been out for a couple of years now, but to be completely transparent, this is more so a beta. So it's not like a polished version like Symbaloo. So there are some kinks, but it is very usable. And yeah, you can go ahead and share that.
Yeah, and I'll agree that my first dive into Symbaloo was meeting Klaus, and Klaus and I were out. We were actually golfing, and we have a mutual friend. We all went out golfing. It was a riot. We were cart buddies, and he was explaining, Symbaloo to me, and I stumbled on the learning paths, and I'm like, time out. I'm like, this is awesome. So you're going to see a lot of potential, but also realize this is something that is in development and they're working on. So here we go. Learning paths. I'm going to click on this adorable owl. And when I click on this owl, you're going to notice that it has the options to create a learning path. It has my learning paths overview, and it has a marketplace, which we're going to talk about. And then something that probably doesn't make a lot of sense right now, which is disconnect the learning path. But let's create a learning path. And before we start building it, let me tell you what a learning path is. What a learning path is, it's the idea of Symbaloo tiles, but it takes your students on a linear journey. And during that linear journey, you can simply inform them. So you can provide content, and that content can be, keep in mind, it's tiles. So there's all different contents, but you could also ask them questions. And you can even set it based on their answers to take them to a different path of tiles. So Jennifer just said, kind of like a guided adventure. You're absolutely right. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, so I'm on my main learning path screen, which isn't going to make a lot of sense right now. This is why I'm bypassing it. For now, let's get some knowledge under our belts, and then we'll come back and we'll revisit this. So I'm going to come in and say, create a learning path. And when I say create a learning path, it is going to ask so let's just for fun, what's our topic? Give me a topic, everyone. Do you have any suggestions? Escape room, STEM. Ooh. Escape from STEM, lava. I'm gonna go with lava. Isn't it, what is it? The floor is lava? Is that what it is?
Floor is lava, yeah.
Have you heard that? Is it the floor is lava?
Oh yeah, I used to play that with my little sister.
I had no idea this even existed, and now I know it's a thing. And so I'm going to say the floor is lava learning path. So we're just going to do this. And so now I want to point out what it's done is for my first tile, because the title is floor is lava, you'll notice that it has already gone in and it is doing searches for content that might help me with the floor is lava. And I know it's not like an educational thing, but I can click right here on the Wikipedia article and I can say, yeah, but maybe I want to set a description or change this around or add a question. We'll leave it basic for this and then we'll build upon this. There's my first item. So now let's add another tile. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click on another tile. And it still says the floor is lava. Let's come in here and just type in lava. And when I type in lava, you're going to notice once again, it searches. You'll see here it says search all. I can click on that. Maybe I just want to do a Google search. Maybe I want to do a video search. Maybe I just want to search for articles. Maybe I want to do an open ed search. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, let's do a video search. And now when I come in here, let's go into Hawaii's lava flow is a mesmerizing force. We're going to add that. Once again, let's dig into this a tiny bit more. I can set a description. I can change this. This video is going to play. And we'll talk about question sets in a moment. I'm going to click in here and say save. And now I have my next item. You'll notice it has a little finish flag because that's the end of my learning path as I have it. Let's come in here and let's click add again. I have been relying so far on the searches that it gives me, but you're going to notice down here, create my own resource. So I can click on create my own resource and I can add my own title. I love lava. That's a weird one. Description set. Leslie is being silly. Resource set. Look at this. Video. Do you want to add? Look at a Symbaloo tile. Do you want to add a tile? Which tile would you like to add? So I can come in here and I can add my blog as a resource. I'm not sure why it's doing that. It's probably my website. It's wacky like that. I can click on save. Now let me check. Is this making sense? And do we like it? Are the questions that I have. So let's continue. I want to make sure that we're okay with our knowledge here because I am going to expand on it a tiny bit. So we've gone over making a learning path, how we can search for content, how we can add that content, how we can create our own content. I'm going to click here on plus again. And I'm going to go, just because I'm being random, I'm going to go to lava cake because I'm kind of hungry. And I'm going to click on how to make a chocolate lava cake. And now I'm going to add something that I haven't been talking about, which is this item down here, question set. It has been part of every single tile I've added here in a learning path. And I'm going to click and say question set. And I'm going to say, what is the main ingredient in a lava cake? Chocolate. Lava cake. And I'm going to say it's chocolate is one possible answer. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put a sugar or flour. And you know what? I could be wrong by saying chocolate's the main ingredient. There might actually be more of one or the other. But you'll also notice I can say add a hint. And I'm going to say add a hint. It's in the name. Add an explanation, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to click on save. And now it's added. And do you see how it has given me different paths based on them answering this correct? Brian, anything you want to add to what I've said so far?
Yeah, so there is one nice little feature there. I'm not sure. I was, again, trying to moderate a little bit of the chat here.
I know,
but
I totally drag you away. I apologize.
No, that's okay. So there, if you notice the flag, so you see the two little check marks on the corners.
Yep.
So did you discuss what the function there is?
I thought it was, but I'm not sure. I thought it was like based on question what they answer.
Yeah, so if you have a question on that tile and you split the path, what that will do is if there's a student on that question and the student gets the question, correctly, you can basically decide what path you want to send them down. So if you split that to the left and down, if they get it correctly, they can go to the right. If they get it incorrectly, you can send them down. So you can give them additional supplemental like learning material or, send them down a completely different path, different ending, or reconnect that at the very end. So just again, it's more.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And it's a beautiful thing. So if they get it wrong, you can give them some, nope, we didn't get that right. Let's learn a little bit more. Let's reconnect them to that path, and off they go. So thank you for that, sir. Another thing that I want to show you is, and by the way, in typical Leslie style, I probably will keep you 5 minutes extra. Are you okay with that? Will you forgive me? For those of you that are hungry, I apologize. Only 5, it could be 10, but then we have questions. So it could be longer. It's going to be longer if you hang out for questions. So I'm going to click on this plus, and we've gone over a lot of this content. You'll notice I did this, create my own resource. I have my favorite sites. I can even say search my Symbaloo web mixes. And in here, and Brian, I'm forgetting where it was. There was one, I had an option. Is it search all? And I don't, where's the one where I can search the existing web mixes? Learning apps?
Yeah, so that's the marketplace.
Where am I missing that?
So that's outside of this. This is the Learning Paths editor. So what you'll do is click on the little owl, and a little fun fact, his name
Yeah,
is Simon.
Simon. And how did he get named
Yeah.
Simon?
You know, Symbaloo, Symon,
Uh,
Simon. Yeah.
okay.
And also fun detail, Klaus doesn't like Simon, so
What? Hold on. He doesn't like the name, or he doesn't like the owl.
he doesn't like the owl.
Well, then we'll just have to talk to him next time we go golfing. Um,
Exactly.
Maybe it was because it was the first tile. I could have sworn I saw it here. So let me just finish up really quick here. I just want to point out you could edit the tile. You could insert a tile in between two. If you did that, you can remove a tile. You could say this is not the last tile, and then you can even add that tile to favorites. So I just wanted to point that out. I could have sworn somewhere there was a marketplace, but I must have missed it in here. But that's fine. I'm going to do another check before we divert. Are we okay with this, everyone? We're good still? We're happy? It makes sense? Beautiful. And so I'm going to click on Simon, the owl that's going to stay. And I'm going to click back, and you're going to notice that there is an area called Marketplace. And in the Marketplace, you are going to find multiple learning paths that are available for you for free. Even though it's called Marketplace. I had this chat with Brian. I'm like, why is it called Marketplace? How much is it? He goes, it's free. I go, then call it like Free Place.
Yeah,
It's free.
it should just be called the gallery, just like the Webmix gallery. I think we are planning to at some point maybe consolidate both of the galleries. So just like you have the tile searching everything, we might do that down the line. But
And one of the things that I forgot to mention is that in one of those answer ones, there's a math keyboard. I totally forgot to mention that there's a math keyboard in there that you could use as well. So I'm going to head here to Greek and Roman, and we're just going to give it a click. And I can say add it automatically to my account. I could even say try it. I did hear people ask about Google Classroom. Yes, there's Google Classroom support. There's Clever support. This has support for a few things, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So we'll say try the learning path, and then up pops this learning path. And I could even try this as a student if I wanted to. I could simply add this to my account, and this will add it to my learning path, which once again is giving Simon the owl a little click. And you're going to notice now that I have a copy of, Karen has a good idea, Learning Paths catalog. Learning Paths gallery. You already have Webmix gallery, keep the gallery title.
yep.
Okay, so there is added, and yes, you can edit the name of the learning path or whatnot, but let's head back to the floor is lava. And when we head back to the floor is lava, you'll notice I have a couple options right here in the upper right corner. I could actually come in here and I can see the assignment results, which we'll talk about in a moment. I could preview this. I could publish this if I really dig my work. I could publish this to the marketplace if I wanted to. But this one, if you didn't know about Learning Paths before, this one you'll probably fall over when you see that as an option. I can assign this and start tracking. So I can assign this, and I can give my students the assignment with this link. I could also come in here and say enable feedback for my students. I can enable chat. I can say let my Google Classroom students use this. Make sure it's only registered users. And this will then head out and they can take this learning path. And when they take the learning path, I am able to watch their progress by clicking on, and now you'll see this also has a red dot because that learning path is right here. It says recording, but now I can come in here, and I didn't have anyone take this learning path yet, but I'll click here on assignments and results, and I'll click here on view results, and I'll be able to see the names of the students and how they have done on those learning paths. So I have that ability to be able to see how they're doing. And if I come back to my learning path overview, hopefully this now makes a little bit more sense where I said we weren't going to cover it right away because we needed some knowledge under our belts. Hopefully we have that knowledge now. So you'll notice that I have two assignments that are here. there's the access code for them that I can share with my students. And now if you look, you'll notice I have 2 blinking learning paths because those are currently assigned. And the students can, if they take that learning path, I can then see how they did. Brian, anything you want to add to that at all?
Yeah, actually, in regards to the analytics portion of that, would there be a way to quickly share my screen? I have a nice little filled out analytics viewer
Yes,
just to
so
run down
it's
that.
up to you. You go into the share at the bottom
Hmm.
and then say share, and then you'll have a choice. Do you just click on, not the, well, hold on, I need to stop sharing, I think.
Got it.
All right,
Uh,
so now
this,
click on, don't click on the arrow. That gets confusing. Click on the big share screen. There you go. Ta-da,
can you
thank
see
you,
this
sir.
here?
Yep,
Yep. So
yay,
this is, here's a little more of a visual
thank you.
explanation here. Yeah, absolutely. So in real time, you'll see your current active users there, a little breakdown of your student performance. So depending on how many you have accessing the learning path, you'll see them here where they're standing. Again, further breakdown down at the bottom. So where the students are. And again, great little part here. This is my favorite. You can see them progressing through the learning path in real time. So each little initial here will indicate where the students are. And if you do click on any of the tiles with a question, it also has a great little breakdown, the question with the correct answer, which students answered the question correctly, incorrectly, viewed by, and the average time spent working through that assignment or the question there. But yeah, down at the bottom, you have the individual student standings, score, reward, progress. And one of the more popular ones is how much time the student has spent working through the assignment, so that you know as an educator that your students aren't just clicking through the entire assignment. And down at the bottom, it'll grade it for you. So you have like the student average, and you can toggle these on and it'll update the average down at the bottom as you toggle them on or off. But just wanted to show that really quickly in detail.
Thank you. That was something that I felt bad that, so I appreciate it. And did you see chat? Where are my Symbaloo users that had no idea about learning paths? I'm curious. So Vicki has a great point, and I agree, which is learning paths need their own webinar. And we haven't even gotten to the last thing we're going to talk about. And I completely agree, learning paths need their own webinar. So maybe when learning paths grows and turns into, we get the gang back together again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we talk, and I agree completely. When I saw learning paths, I remember contacting Klaus and going, why aren't you talking about this more? Because it is so, and it's free, right? This is part of the free Symbaloo. Am I correct or no?
Yeah, so Learning Paths is absolutely free. It has been free. At this point, I don't believe that we are looking to charge for it. This is just a great tool that we want to continue offering for free. So, you can log in, create an account. It comes with the personal accounts or the pro accounts. So, yeah, use
So
it away.
enjoy, everyone.
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome? So let's finish our time. Like I said, I'm going to keep you a few moments extra with one of the main reasons Symbaloo wanted us all to get together, which is why I'm laughing that there's officially 2 minutes left in the webinar, but I don't think we could explain Symbaloo Pro effectively without having our basic knowledge on Symbaloo. But let's talk about Symbaloo Pro. So as someone mentioned, Symbaloo Pro is only $50 a year. That's not bad. That's under $5 a month. And one of the things that it gives you is it gives you what's known as a workspace domain. And I really dig this concept because what you noticed is I could have a Webmix and I can say, here is my Webmix, and you could share it out there. And then my students would maybe need a link or whatnot, or this makes it so much easier. It gives you your own domain. So for example, lesliefisher.symbaloo.com is my domain and they can head there. But not only that, I have the ability to set up users and groups in that domain. And then when I set up users and groups, I can put web mixes in specific groups. So now all of a sudden, I can maybe have all the different classes I teach. I can have web mixes into those specific groups, which make up those classes. And then I have a join code that my students could join that area, or I could also add them via email address. So let me show you this, and this is a pro feature. So right here, you'll notice this little L, that is my Webmix, my web space, which used to be called Workspace. Do I have that right, Brian, or is it backwards? It's web space, it used to be called Workspace.
Yeah, so it's web space.
Yeah, and Jen said you can't share a Symbaloo unless it's a pro account. You can absolutely share a Symbaloo if it's not a pro account. It just goes through linking and whatnot. This is a little bit more, I would say, seamless and straightforward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here. You'll notice once again that I have my Webmix, and you're going to see that I've created this group. But let's come in here, and let's say, I'll come here and say publish to. And when I click on publish to, you're going to get this screen. And you'll see that it says, here is your workspace, which is being renamed Webspace. Brian was hoping to have the name changed by now, but it didn't, and that's okay. And you'll notice that there is a sample group. So, and I'm going to call this one webinar group. So I'm just going to name that webinar group, and I'm going to say save the group. So now all of a sudden I have that group saved. And now if you take a look here, you'll see that I have all of my web mixes listed. And if I wanted to add that web mix that we created and that math facts one here to this webinar group, I've now added just those two web mixes to that group that I just made. Does that make sense? I want to make sure you guys caught that. So, so with that done, I'm happy there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to X out of this. And I'm going to head back to my web space, and I'm going to say that I want to add some users. And you'll notice I already have some users in here. So we'll add, oops, I did that there, paste that here, type in the name here. Invite user to workspace. And so now I've just added or invited that user to the workspace, and you'll notice it says invite pending. But right here, I could say add that user to a group, and I can say, you know what? I want to put them in the webinar group. So now when they join, the only thing that they're going to see is those two web mixes, and all they have to do is simply join into my Symbaloo area. Is that still making sense?
One of the things that I do and would like to add on to this is because this part is still a little confusing for most, and this is one of those features that we're still looking to make a little more intuitive and easy to use for everyone. I saw a question from Sheila where she says, can I invite the whole class with a class list? I'm not sure whether that's separate from Symbaloo or not, but in general, if you do create a whole private group for your class, you could invite the entire class. The only thing that this now requires your students to have a Symbaloo account. So they would have to be of age, email address, all of that good stuff, and they will use that custom pin that is there to access that group, the private group. But that is also a great feature, and we've been discussing sort of offering a type of learning paths integration for these groups where you don't necessarily need an email. Again, that's one of the beauties of Symbaloo, is sharing and accessing without an email. So we're working on making it easier, but hopefully that clears things up.
Cool. Thank you, sir. So, and once again, I can come here into my groups and I can see my group list. And what I like about this is this gives me, and you'll see right here, it's lesliefisher.symbaloo.com. And what it does is it gives me the opportunity to create these little learning areas or these learning groups, and being able to then publish them and share them just by, sharing that content. And I just love that. I think it's a little bit more streamlined and a little bit easier. And I can head right here where this plus is, and it gives me the ability to add additional public workspaces or web spaces if I wanted to. And so that is also part of Symbaloo Pro. You'll also notice that when I create these groups, you'll see that it has a code. And what I'm able to do, whoops, is make a boo-boo with my slides. What I'm able to do, and I've given you some links here, is I'm able, and I want to point this out. Remember, there's a help the help me out is in your web spaces as well. So I just want to point that out. And I have all of this in here. Let me see if I can get to the page I wanted to show you. Here it is. We've done all of this. We've done all this. Here we go. There is a join a group link. And so you can share this link as I click, there we go. So I've created a shortened link for you, but if we come in here and I paste this in, it will take you to this page. So you would share this link, they would type in their code and they would have access. Now, Brian, you were saying they need to have a Symbaloo account for that to work, correct?
Yeah, last time I checked, if you type in this group access code, it will ask them to log in and all of that. So
yeah, and I had that yesterday as well. So they will need a Symbaloo account. So okay, so let me double check the other things. I went through these slides real quick, but we had already talked about them. I mentioned the more options, adding web mixes, dragging a web mix into a workspace group. Then when you do that, you can add a group. You can add users to that group, share those web mixes, share the code, and I even include that right there. And here's what it would look like for a user viewing their group. So they would type in that code, and then they would simply see whatever groups you allow that user to see. The other thing that I wanted to point out, that there is an option in workspace settings, and I already showed you earlier, that shows you where users and groups or whatnot are. And I'm trying to get to, oh, that's right, this. Another nice feature is when you do use workspaces, there's a publish option at the top. So if you create a web mix, all you have to do is click on that publish option at the top, and then you can choose what group that web mix is sent to. And the thing I'm trying to get to, because we mentioned it earlier, so let me see, I'm gonna keep you two more minutes. In your web mix, there's a center box. And that center box in that web mix is usually a Google search. And if you go into your settings, you have the option to change that center box to a different search engine. And Brian, if I remember correctly, this is kind of newer, is the safe search option that you can have in there if you wanted to.
yeah, so safe search is actually, I believe we released that earlier this month or late last month. Don't quote me on that, but it's fairly new.
Yeah, so then you could add safe search instead of it being Google, you can have it be safe search. Oh, Sheila, I'm glad. I like surprising you. And we had this question a few of you asked. So here is the slide, unlocking a web mix. So what you can do is, if you want to unlock a web mix, click on the following button near the top of the page. So if you come in here, if I can head back to one of my web mixes that I have here, I'll click here on this following button because I'm following it. And when I do, it's going to say this web mix is created by another Symbaloo user. You'll receive any updates the creator makes. If you would like to stop updates and make your own edits, click unfollow and claim web mix below. So the minute you do that, exactly what we were talking about happens. You no longer get the updates from that person, but you can make it your own. What I would tell you, and I need to double check with Brian, can I add the same web mix twice?
Yes, you can.
So add it twice. I would add one and keep it locked so you have their updates. And then I would untether one if you wanted to make it your own. And then that way you still have those updates heading to you, that would be my suggestion.
Yeah.
So, and once again, I thought I'd keep you 5 minutes, but I kept you 9 minutes extra. Hey, everyone, how did we do? Did we all learn? I'm curious about my my new Symbaloo friends, like people who had no idea about Symbaloo. I bet you guys are happy kids. That's just my assumption. But Jennifer, isn't that pretty amazing that you're in a Symbaloo webinar, which if you look at how Symbaloo works, it's really simple. I mean, it's super simple. But in that simplicity, look at all of the features that you have. I mean, that's pretty awesome. I mean, that's pretty neat. It's one thing to be simple. It's another thing to have so many other features. And what I'm really happy to hear is it sounds like I have Symbaloo friends that know the product that I introduce new things to, and that is awesome. And Jackie asked, can they watch? Symbaloo will have a copy of this webinar. I will have a copy of this webinar on my website for 6 days. So you will be able to catch up with this. So Brian, my dear, how do we want to try to tackle the Q&A? Looks like
yeah.
How do we want to do this?
So, I mean, I'm not sure. There are some, I was trying to figure out how to move some of the answered ones into the, the answered section there, but I can definitely go down the list and maybe answer some of the Symbaloo ones. And then there are other ones that,
yes, because I was rambling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see. So let me start here. So there are a few. I will leave the Oculus ones for you. And
it's so funny. I apologize for that.
No worries at all. And then let me see. Here we go. So Peggy,
Jennifer's about locks because we talked about that.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
So we have, can you publish a webmix you are following to make it your own so you can edit? If I understand that correctly, basically, if you see the locked webmixes, when you add those to your account, you can actually publish them as is. So if you are managing a web space, let's say Leslie shared that with me and I wanted to share her webmix on my web space, I can do that. So I can publish it and Leslie can still continue managing and updating that webmix as is, and those will appear on the web space that I'm sharing. But as you saw, she explained the unlocking feature where you can then unlock it, make it your own, and then push that out and share it that way as well. So that was that one. Let me go down. So my tiles, Yanira, hopefully I didn't butcher your name. My tiles sometimes do not show
my
an
biggest
image.
fear in webinars is name butchering.
So my tiles sometimes do not show an image, although I have selected one. So if you're in the editor, this is actually something that's been very strange. Our development is currently looking into something similar where you would create a tile and it would put up an image, or you would upload your own image and you would go in and sort of edit it, add a text or whatever it may be, and then the image would disappear. It looks like there's a glitch going around with certain accounts, not all of them. But basically you can just recreate that tile and it should be okay. Try and upload that image once more and it should be able to save it. But initially you might experience that quick little glitch. If you keep experiencing that, you can email us at enhelp.symbaloo.com. Let's see. Can you explain why you would want to overlap tiles? So Leslie showed when you click and drag a tile, if this is what you're referring to, overlapping one over the other, it'll open up the group functionality. So it'll open up a little folder where you can then place that additional tile there. And now you've created, just like on your smartphone, a little grouped folder where you can continue adding more tiles and further organize and personalize your webmix. So that's what that would do. Let's see. How did you set up your students into a learning path? So this is a great question. When you create your learning path on the tool there, once you click assign and start tracking, what that would do is that would give, there are multiple ways to share it, but that would give a 5-digit PIN, which Leslie is showing here. So click on that recording button, Leslie, please.
I was scared because it's blinking.
Yeah, and that is also, again, there are little terms that we need to
remember
change.
It's beta.
Yes, it's beta. So yes, thank you. So here, when you publish or assign and start tracking the learning path, you'll see the 5-digit PIN here. And that 5-digit PIN is one of the original ways that we would assign the learning path to the students, where they would visit learningpaths.symbaloo.com. And there's a little text field where they would enter that PIN. That PIN is the only thing that they need to access that assignment. It would take them to another page where the student would type in their name so that you know which student is working on the assignment. But now what you can do is down at the bottom, which Leslie has highlighted, the learning paths link, you can actually create a tile on your Symbaloo webmix with that learning path tile. Then you can distribute that however you like, whether it's the individual webmix link or publish that to your pro web space. The student will then just click on that tile. It'll take them directly to the page where they need to type in their name, and then they can work on that learning path from home, from school, anywhere, on any device, as long as they have internet. So let's see, can you Paul. Paul, I believe I did answer this question, but so everyone is also aware, can you pay for Pro with a school purchase order? We do accept school purchase orders. Our teacher accounts, they are only set to be paid with a credit card online, but if you are having your school pay for it, you could still send us the purchase order. You just email all that information, your Pro web space domain, along with the purchase order to accounting@symbaloo.com. You'll see some of that information within the account there. But then we'll just manually have to work the purchase order into the system and things like that. So it's a little more extensive. The school and district accounts allow you to pay and request an invoice, so you can do that and then submit your PO. So this just requires a little more, a few more steps to get that paid. Let's see. Karen says, I'm new to Symbaloo. Would it be good to set up 2 accounts, one for work, school, and one for personal? So that's also a good question. If you might have noticed, Leslie, when she logged into her account, she had 2. She had Leslie and then Leslie Demo. So you can set that up however you'd like. We have some teachers that prefer to just have 1 account. The accounts, when you log in and you create all of your web mixes and your tiles, they're all private to you. So what this does is this allows you to share an individual webmix with the webmix link, which will send the student to the webmix preview page, which they can either add to their own account or just continue viewing it on that webmix preview page. But if you now have the Pro account, which we do also offer a free ad-supported Pro account, that Pro account will allow you to distribute the web mixes there as well. And you will only be able to, or your students will only be able to see the web mixes that you publish there. So anything that hasn't been published or shared will still stay private in your account. So you can keep your personal content in there or create another account and separate them however you like. But you can do both. That's completely up to you. How many students can we put in a learning path? That's also a great question. I think the most we've had so far without any problems has been about like 50. So I'm sure you can keep going. And if you run into any problems, just reach out to us and we'll make sure we get to fixing that. Do you offer proof of attendance to this webinar? So I guess the only way that would be for them to submit their name. There's currently no, we're trying to find a way to manage this without storing any student confidential information and things like that. We want to keep everyone safe and private. The best way that we've done that so far is, again, just typing in your name, or you can have them type in like a student ID if that will help you identify the student. We've had both of those, but other than that, there's really none. If there's a way for them to
they're asking for this webinar. I think they want to know if they're going to have attendance logged for this webinar, like a certificate. I think that was the question.
Got it. Sorry, I'm on the learning paths train.
No, it's all good.
Okay,
and so the answer is, we had like a last moment change where we made this an open webinar, so that doesn't allow for name tracking. And so Symbaloo has some of their registration. They're going to get that to me. I will send certificates if that's okay with you, Brian. And
Absolutely.
then I need to try to resurrect. For the people who registered with me, I'm hoping to resurrect that list because it went poof when we changed the settings. So I need to figure that out. So.
Got it. Yeah, do we still have time? Should I continue going down these questions?
Oh yeah, no, we have time. They can leave whenever they want.
Wonderful. Okay. So Tony asks, does Learning Path option require users to have a Symbaloo account? So no, your students, doesn't matter what age they are, they don't need to have an account. Again, they'll just access the webmix with the Learning Path tile or visit learningpath.symbaloo.com and enter that 5-digit PIN, and the student can access the Learning Path there without an account. Peggy asks, can you publish a webmix you are following? Oh, we already answered that one. So I put this in the chat box earlier. Gwen asks, I use Symbaloo daily, but lately I have to refresh it every time I click a tile or just freezes. Sometimes I have to do a hard refresh. Is it just because you're making upgrades? So this was actually something that we did experience recently after a recent deploy that was including the new tile search function. And this is actually another thing that development is actually working on resolving. Again, it's not all accounts, only certain accounts. I'm not sure what the actual issue is, but we are working to fix that. We have had success with a few users basically wiping out their browsers, clearing their cookies and cache. There could be something in there that's just kind of corrupting the site from loading properly. But other than that, there is something there that we can work on pushing out, and our development team is on it. So I do apologize for that. Let's go down here. Is this being recorded? Yes. So Katie asked if this is being recorded. Leslie, you did say that this is being recorded. It will be available on Leslie's website for 6 days, and we will also have a copy on Symbaloo. Peggy asks, can you keep following a Webmix and also create your own copy of it by claiming? Oh, yep, we answered that one. So you can have a copy and continue subscribing to another one if you have multiple copies. Victoria's asking if you would share these slides. I'm assuming you are sharing these slides, right, Leslie?
Yes, but we have that situation where I need to hopefully resurrect all the people that signed up and find that list to make a merge. So usually I send these out a couple hours after the webinar. It might be a little bit later. It might be tomorrow, because I need to hopefully find the original list of people who signed up. Okay.
Great, thank you. Sheila asked, or she says, I had an account many years ago at a different school that I don't have access to the email anymore. And I don't remember your login. So you can actually email me for anyone that needs any assistance. Please feel free to email me, Brian, B-R-Y-A-N @symbaloo.com. Can we post that on here somewhere to everyone?
Yeah, you can just go into the chat.
There we go, all panelists and attendees. So I'll put my email down below. Feel free to email me with any questions. Sheila, we can take a look in our system to see if we can find that account. We'll just need, if you have that email address, if you remember the address, it'll still be connected in our database in there somewhere. So we'll just need to have that email address, and I can find it and then update that and connect it to a current address to, get you logged back in, or get you logged back in. Answer live. Peggy asks, how do you give credit to the creator of the Webmix if you share one you are following? So that's currently, we have in the like the disclaimer, if you share your Webmix publicly in the gallery, you're basically giving everyone sort of like, you're sharing the rights to that Webmix, where they can then make that timestamp copy of the Webmix as is at that moment. And then you can, even if you just add one of your own tiles to it, you can share it as your own. There really is no way. We did have a commenting feature within the Webmix preview page and the gallery, but that kind of got out of hand with some students that were creating accounts, so we've deactivated that. But that is in the disclaimer, so you wouldn't be necessarily stealing any content or anything. You're basically, uploading the rights to that as well for anyone to use. Lynn asks, Brian, as a free account, can you collaborate with one person, then have them turn off the collaboration and then join another collaboration project? Yeah, so basically you can only collaborate on one Webmix. So if you invite me to collaborate on your Webmix, it'll be live, and then you can close off the collaboration there and kick me off of it, and then invite me to another Webmix, and we can do that as well. So yes, you can do that. Mean. Yeah. I mean, you can't, I don't believe there's a way for you to like close out as like the person who's invited. They would have to kick you off the, the Webmix. Let's see, Sheila, I already answered that. If you have a free account, here we go. So Peggy asks again, if you have a free account and also a pro account, can you combine them into one account? So there's currently no way to merge these accounts. You can basically, like, one of the workarounds we have is how you add like a Webmix from the gallery, and then you add that little locked version of it. What you can do is log into one account, let's say an old account that you want to get rid of, and take one or two of the Webmixes you want from that account and put them into a new account, or that pro account per se. You can get that share link, log out or open up another web browser, log into the pro account, and then paste that link into the web browser in a new tab. And you can add that Webmix into that account, unfollow and claim it, so make it your own, and then you can move it from the other account. And you can kind of do that back and forth until you get all the Webmixes you have. But there's currently no merging function that we have internally. That's our workaround as well. We don't get a lot of merging requests, so it hasn't been pushed up the roadmap for development. But yeah, you can currently do that. And I believe, Nikki says, to everyone, for the pro Symbaloo, does it have to be the school district email address, or can I use my personal email since I'm paying for it using my own? No, so you can use your email address. Basically, the email address also acts as the login address for the account. So if you will be managing that, I recommend you using the email address that you're going to be using to log in. But when it comes to paying, at least in the billing section of that, we can actually put in another contact name for billing. So if you need to send an invoice to someone in accounting or whatever it may be, you can do that as well. So you can reach out to us at accounting@symbaloo.com and we can help you with all of that paperwork stuff. Donna asks, I have a blank Symbaloo copy under my original. How do I remove it? Left sidebar under the owl. I have a blank Symbaloo copy. What do you mean by copy? Maybe a web space? Maybe there's another web space there that's blank. How do you remove it? That's a good question. Donna, go ahead and email me. We can connect.
I was wondering about that one too.
Yeah. Feel free to email me. We'll figure that out. I believe
Cool.
That is it.
I think we got it covered, except for the Oculus question. And I'll just mention this one really quick. Oculus 2, VR headsets. It doesn't matter. Virtual reality, there's a lot of apps now which are fitness apps. And it's becoming kind of this, and I've been loving it for the past few weeks. So you could have an Oculus and still do all the same fitness apps. And I'll tell you, my favorite one right now is one called Fit XR, which is kind of like boxing meets Guitar Hero meets Beat Saber. And I got the Oculus 2 only because it was lighter. I wanted my mom to have a headset, so I'm giving my mom my older Oculus headset. But it's been kind of my thing this week. I got it on Tuesday, so as I immerse in things, I've been immersing into things all week, and that is ramping up my Symbaloo slides and discovering more fitness titles on Oculus. So it works on any most virtual reality headsets will have these apps. And so if you're looking for a change of pace and looking for a workout or whatnot, and you do have a virtual reality headset, try it out. And if not, Oculus Quest 2 just came out, which is a great headset. And there's other ones in that space as well. So
cool. Yeah, there are a couple of other questions that are there that are actually pretty, if you don't mind, may I answer?
No problem, we're good.
Awesome. So Sheila, you asked, can you color the tabs to make them easier to find? So you can't color the Webmix tabs. However, in the settings, you can actually add a little icon to each tab. It'll show up on the left-hand side, just like where the padlock is for those Webmixes. But if you click on the settings button, you'll see like little diamonds or crowns or little icons that you can use just to distinguish your Webmixes. So you can do that.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to show that, and I apologize.
No worries at all. No worries. There are a lot of nitty-gritty details that we could, But I believe Vicky was her name. V-Cuts, right?
Yeah, Vicky.
So someone's asking, can I turn my free account into my pro account so I don't have to remake my Webmixes? So yeah, whatever Symbaloo account you have, you can actually open a pro account connected to that same one. You can think of the pro web space as an extension to any Symbaloo account. So Leslie, if you wouldn't mind sharing once you've added the little icon.
Yeah, so I just clicked on one of the web mixes. I went into settings, and when I go into settings, you'll notice that there is a set web mix icon. And then I have all these different icons that I can change it to.
Yeah, so actually go ahead and click on one of those icons and those little colors, and it should add the icon and then color in the icon, but not the full tab itself.
There you go.
That should help. And then for the last question, turning any free account into a pro account. Yeah, so on any account, what you'll do is navigate to the user icon at the far right of the page next to the little messaging icon. Would you mind navigating there for me, Leslie?
Which one? Where am I going?
The user icon at the far right of the page, top right. Yeah. And then there you'll see Symbaloo Pro subscription, or if you don't have one, it should say open up a new pro workspace or join pro. But there, if you have one, you can actually open up another one by scrolling down the page. But you should see the option to open one up in that little drop-down window there. Yeah, for anyone that doesn't have a pro account at the moment. How do you get the Sherry? Hope, I'm sorry for butchering your name. How do you get the color to show in the new marked area? So that would again also be within the settings. If you click on the settings button there, you have down at the new marked area. If you click on that, you can change the color. You'll see down at the bottom. And then you can also create a little tile for that marked area as well. So you can title it, after school resources or math resources, whatever it may be. So you can further personalize that through the little settings there. Exactly. Thank you, Leslie. Stuff here, that's right.
And so she said she got a clear option. You got to click on that clear option, my dear, and that will show you the colors.
Yeah, let's see, hopefully. Yeah, but that should be it.
Yay!
Thank
Hey,
you.
Brian,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. You did a wonderful job digging into everything. I'm
Oh,
very
my
happy.
pleasure. That's what I tend to do. I tend to, once again, I tend to be like the digger. I just want to show them all the features that I think will help them, and then they can put their teacher awesomeness on it. So that's always my goal. So as mentioned, we're going to try to figure out, we got to, I will get the email list from him. I'll get the slides to you, but it might not be till tomorrow because I want to try to resurrect the names that I had that for some crazy reason are missing. But you will get these slides, and this webinar will be on demand on my website for 6 days, and Symbaloo will have it on their website as well. I really appreciate, Brian, your time. I appreciate Symbaloo sponsoring this webinar, and I also really appreciate the educators with your very warm and fuzzy feedback. It's a wonderful thing that, you know, I've been working on these slides all week. Brian's been helping me. That I love when I surprise you with something that means that I'm helping you as an educator. And when I help you as an educator, that really makes me warm and fuzzy, because that's really my biggest goal. So, and then when I get feedback that I know that I did that, it makes me a happy kid. So thank you for that. Vicki wants us to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Not opposed to that. This is great. Yeah, and thank you again, Leslie, for the great work on this. Thank you to everyone that joined and answered or asked questions. And yeah, feel free to reach us at Symbaloo, and we're there to help you.
Awesome. And thank you, everyone. So thank you, Brian, again, and take care and have a wonderful weekend, everyone. And thank you for all you're doing in our classroom or supporting our educators today. I know I totally appreciate it. And talking to Brian, I know that he absolutely appreciates it as well. So stay safe, everyone. Stay awesome. Take care, guys. Bye.